Hey everybody, Alex Kazora, SteelersDepot.com, back with some Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Today, the Pittsburgh Steelers, like the rest of the NFL, trimmed their rosters down from 80 to 53, a particularly busy day for the Pittsburgh Steelers, making two trades. Let's talk about the initial 53-man roster, the cuts, the acquisitions, and how things look. I'll put up on screen right now the initial 53 and heavy emphasis on the word initial. This thing's still fluid. There was certainly one change that's going to happen that we know will occur tomorrow, and others certainly could happen as well. But starting with the offense, 25 kept, and even 25-25 split offense. Defense, quarterbacks, no changes there, really no surprises. Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett, and Mason Rudolph. The thought was, would this team potentially trade Mason Rudolph? I thought that was possible, but more unlikely, and for now, Rudolph stays. Could that change? Potentially, but to me, if he would have been traded, it felt like today would have been the day. At running back 3 with Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, and Benny Snell, the 3 we kind of thought that it would be. Anthony McFarland falling out of favor, and he was released today. Warren making the team as the team's only undrafted free agent to do so. Really strong summer. Once he just cleaned up and buttoned up his ball security, he made this team. Benny Snell, you may not like it, but we knew he was going to make this team for the special teams value. They trust him. They know him. They like guys with size and power, and Warren Snell fit that bill behind the very big and very powerful Najee Harris. And Derek Watt, a fullback, being kept, has battled a shoulder injury for the bulk of the summer, hasn't played at all this preseason, but there is special teams value in that, and so he will stay. Wide receiver, keeping a whopping 7 of them, and Pittsburgh, Mike Tomlin speaking over the weekend about how quality and how strong the receiver room was and how many tough cuts there would be there. And so right now, Pittsburgh's made no tough cuts. They're keeping them all, Miles Boykin and Steven Sims. We'll have to see if Calvin Austin, the rookie, heads to injured reserve with that foot injury. Really can't say for sure. The status on that certainly would make some level of sense given the fact this team is keeping 7. It seems unlikely they'll keep 7 going into week 1 against the Bengals, but we'll have to check on that. Boykin Sims doing well this summer, both in camp and in game, and really came on strong the last 2-3 weeks of the summer. Tight end, Pat Freiermuth, Zach Gentry, Connor Hayward. The rookie Hayward makes it. He impressed overall. A niche player, but a good special teams guy, and has some athletic ability to be a versatile player that can be an asset on boots and be able to split out into the slot and things like that. So tight end was about as settled as any position group on this roster was going to be. Offensive line, where the first trade comes in, and Jesse Davis, the offensive lineman, played a lot of tackle. He can play guard and tackle, acquired for a 2025 conditional 7th-round pick from the Minnesota Vikings. And so that's about as little as you can give up. If it was like an old NBA-type deal, giving up a pick a couple years in the future, Jesse Davis signing a 1-year contract with Minnesota this March. Again, his time had been spent, all of it, with Miami until this March. And so no Joe Hague, no Trent Scott. We'll see if maybe Trent Scott circles back. Joe Hague sounds like he's going to be gone. Jesse Davis, pretty similar resume and caliber player as Joe Hague, so would not expect Hague to come back at this point. Kind of felt like it was a weird summer for him. He had a concussion. He came back healthy and practiced today, but that'll be the end, it appears, on Joe Hague. Then the interior offensive linemen, 5 of them in Mason Cole, James Daniels, Kevin Dotson, Kendra Green, and J.C. Hassenauer. Again, could there be any changes to this O-line? Certainly Pittsburgh wants to, have as many overhauls and looks to their offensive line as possible, given how much this unit has struggled, although I'll do a video later this week on the channel and for Steelers Depot that shows the improvement this line made against the Detroit Lions. So don't want to say that a guy like Kendra Green and Hassenauer are, penciled or written in pen. I should say maybe written in pencil is the better way to phrase it. We'll have to see if anything on the waiver wire creates more movement on this offensive line. But Jesse Davis, the new name, entered into the mix. Defensive line going heavy with 7, but that was predictable and expected really since the start of training camp with Hayward, Ogunjobi, Leal, Wormley, Loudermilk, Alualu, and Adams. Adams returning to practice today as well, so that's all good news for him. Loudermilk still with an injury. He may be a week 1 inactive. His team will probably carry 7 into the week 1 game. I don't expect any changes there, barring any sort of injuries, but they'll probably only dress 5. And so 2 of them will have to be down. That could be Loudermilk and the rookie Leal. Outside linebacker, where the second trade comes in. This was the first to be reported on Tuesday. Malik Reed coming over from Denver for a 6th-round pick, and also Pittsburgh getting a 7th-round pick. So it's Reed and a 7th for a 6th-round pick headed to Denver. like that trade. Really not a lot of capital given up. Reed, a pretty accomplished pass rusher, 13 sacks over the last 2 years, 5 last year for Denver. Believe they were doing some different things. New regime over there, new DC that didn't fit, Reed schematically as well as pass systems under Vic Fangio. And so that's probably a pretty strong fit there. Pittsburgh getting a more veteran, proven guy. They needed that type of guy to be a number 3 behind Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt. So really important there to get Malik Reed. You knew this team was going to add an outside linebacker. Would it be a trade? Would it be a cut down? Weren't quite sure. Now we get our answer. Inside linebacker, just 4. Miles Jack, Devin Bush, Robert Spillane, and Mark Robinson. Marcus Allen, the cut there. It sounds like he's going to be a go-around player that will come back tomorrow. We'll explain and expand on that here in a moment. But that was not a surprising move to me, given Allen's contract and how likely it is that he passes through waivers. Robinson, 7th-round pick. He will make it. He had a really strong summer, and there's a ways to go. I think some people are getting a little too out in front of themselves about Mark Robinson's year 1 impact, but certainly there's traits and downhill ability and physicality that's attractive with Mark Robinson, and then Bush, Spillane, and Jack being the other 3. At corner, keeping 5 in Witherspoon, Sutton, Wallace, Pierre, and Millette. Again, that's a pretty chalk group overall. Justin Lane, finally, time runs out on Justin Lane. If you've listened to my reporting and what we've said on Steelers Depot for a couple weeks now, Lane had a good start to training camp, but quickly fell behind, even playing behind the likes of Chris Steele and Lyndon Stevens, who were both cut today. So that, to me, felt like writing on the wall for Justin Lane. James Pierre should be a starting gunner and is certainly offering more potential in terms of an actual cornerback. Millette could play on early downs as a slot corner, and then, of course, your top 3 being Witherspoon, Sutton, and Wallace. And finally, at safety, 5, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Terrell Edmonds, Trey Norwood, DeMonte Casey, and Miles Killebrew. Casey will go to IR tomorrow. He's being kept initially on the 53, so he can potentially return later this year. So in order to have a chance to return, to be designated to return, you have to make the initial 53-man roster. And so that's a procedural move. This happened last year with the likes of Stephon Tuitt and Zach Banner and others. And so Casey will go to IR tomorrow, and that should open the spot for, it sounds like, Marcus Allen to come back. Will anyone join Casey is the question. Will a Calvin Austin, the name I'm circling there, could he potentially go to IR? He's missed a chunk of time with that foot injury. And then potentially you could see a Trent Scott return to add some offensive line depth. That's probably the number 1 thing I'm watching tomorrow. But Casey will head to IR and hopefully come back as that depth and big nickel player later this year. Killebrew, been a weird summer for him. Pec injury on day 1, has not played in a game, has barely practiced, but hopefully he's good for week 1. Trey Norwood should be the dime defender this year on third and long and obvious passing situations. And just quickly, the specialists, everything pretty status quo there. Chris Boswell as your kicker, Presley Harvin, your punter, and Christian Kuntz, the long snapper. So that is your 53. Pittsburgh will form their 16-man practice squad starting tomorrow. So a lot of additions there. I'm guessing there'll be some outsiders coming in. I had trouble just getting a 16-man practice squad myself based off the current 80-man roster. And so we'll see if this team adds anyone else to the waiver claim system. Certainly they could explore maybe additional offensive line help. Maybe something else, but probably looking at offensive line pretty heavily overall in terms of will they add somebody else. Michael Schofield, one name to watch if I had to suggest one off the top of my head. So that is the initial roster. Again, fluid, not set in stone. We already know that Casey will go to IR, so that's one change that is certainly going to occur. We'll see if any others happen tomorrow as well. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this initial 53. What are you most surprised by? What are you most disappointed by? What are you most happy about with this initial grouping? Appreciate you guys watching. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you have not done so already. Again, thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.